How y'all doing this morning? Good. Glad to be back. Glad to be back. I tell you what, I tell people all the time that being up in Pittsburgh for 7 years and having an opportunity to play for the Steelers and be a part of this community is definitely got a place with me. I love the characteristics and how the neighborhoods flow together and how different everything is compared to the South. I was with Pittsburgh for 7 years and left and went to Buffalo in New England. I've been retired going on for 3 years now. And diabetes has been a major part of my life after my rookie year since I left here. And I'm trying to do the best job I can of being an advocate for diabetes and showing people that you can do whatever you want. And like he said, we got a lot of people in here that have had educational classes and some who haven't. And I'm gonna give you a very in-depth side of my life. I'm gonna be a patient. I'm gonna talk to you like a patient. I don't have the fancy terms. I can't say half of them. And just be honest with you. My deal is that when I get up and try to talk in front of people, I make it my personal vent session to talk about the things I like about diabetes and the things I don't like about diabetes. And I encourage everybody out here to do the same thing. And you'll hear me continuously say that it'll help you accept what's going on in your life, because it took me a few years once I was diagnosed to accept the fact that I have diabetes, and until we find the cure, it's not going anywhere, so I'm gonna have to deal with it. And it's the same for all of you that are out here, or if you're here for somebody else that you can help. The people that are here, you know my story for the most part. I'm from a small town in North Mississippi. It's literally probably about the size of this room, if not a little bit bigger. And it's still the same way. It hasn't changed very much, especially when it comes to home-cooked meals. We cover everything in sugar and we fry it at the same time. And you drink sweet tea with it, and if it ain't sweet enough, then you add another pound and a half of sugar to your individual glass to your needs. That's how we do it. My parents, my mom really does not like coming to my house. She has a request every time she comes: sweet tea and Pepsi. And my mom is probably about this tall. I'm serious, she's barely 5 feet tall, so people wonder how in the world did I come from a little lady like that. So, but everybody in my family is that way. And you know, I grew up like that. And one of the things that's been hard for me as an adult, especially one living with type 1, is to break a lot of habits that were instilled in me and my family. It's important to me because my grandmother had type 2 diabetes. Didn't know it, didn't have a clue. She lived to be 90 years old. She had it for a long time. And I remember me and my little brother playing with her vials of insulin and her syringes, and her getting mad at us, telling us to leave her medicine alone. But I'm figuring she's just an older lady taking her medications. I didn't know it was insulin, didn't have a clue. But one of the things that I know now, I have a love for peppermint, and that came from my grandmother. And she had one of those, she used to keep a bunch of them, those peppermint logs. A lot of you heard me say this before, the size of a miniature baseball bat. You know, I don't even know if they even make them anymore. I hadn't seen one in a long time. She used to beat those up and give it to me and my little brother, which didn't do nothing but make us hyper. But she sent us outside direct soon as she gave it to us. I'm trying to cook a cake, and if y'all jump in here and make my cake fall, I'm gonna be mad. So she sent us outside, and we running all over the place, but she ate it to raise her blood sugar. And I didn't know that. So that's my favorite thing. That and cranberry juice is what I'm looking for if my blood sugars are low. And that came from my grandmother. I didn't know it until I got diagnosed. And, you know, I left Ripley, got an athletic scholarship at Auburn University, played there, had a good time. Graduated and got my degree in graphic design. I love doing freelance work, painting and drawing, and doing a lot of design stuff on the computer. I actually love doing that more than I do playing football. And so that was a great opportunity for me to experience some things that I hadn't. Then obviously my family didn't even think was gonna happen, or me myself. And coming to Pittsburgh was so different for me. I didn't have a clue where Pittsburgh was when I got drafted. Did not know. You could have told me it was in North Georgia and I would have believed you. I'm dead serious. The first I ever been was Syracuse, and we played them in my senior year. And That's the furthest I had been. And I didn't even know where in relationship where Pennsylvania was compared to New York. So when I got picked by Pittsburgh, this was a definite culture shock for me. I'm going to a lot of restaurants that don't have sweet tea, and I'm like, okay, what is the issue here? You know, a lot of the foods had changed, and me and my wife both, you know, we had a lot of stuff shipped in from mama and mother-in-law to kind of help us get through the first couple of years. But I tell you what, like I said before, this place has grown on me, and every time I come back, I try to find some of the little hole-in-wall places I went to before and meet up with some of the people. But the opportunities I had with Pittsburgh was amazing. After my rookie year, everything was going great. Won the Joe Green Rookie of the Year award and thought everything was going great. And at that point in time, as a 22-year-old, you know, at that point, I probably didn't want to admit it then, but now I'm older and I can admit it now. You start feeling pretty good about yourself, and you feel like you're in a good position, and you run around kind of with your chest stuck out a little bit. Yeah, I kind of made it, and everything is going good. And you hopefully have a couple people around to keep you grounded. And I tell you what, God works in mysterious ways. He has ways of using people around us to ground us, or he does his own deal to bring us down a peg or two. That off season was one of those times where he started working on my life. And 2.5 weeks before training camp, everything was going great. I was working out, getting ready for two-a-day training camp. Hot in Alabama, 107, heat index. Just, I figured, okay, well, this is the reason why I'm losing weight. And one day I lost 18 pounds. Next day I lost 13 pounds. And now, you know, you say, wow, my wife was like, you know what? Whatever you're doing, I see you eating Bluebell ice cream, half a bag of Doritos, staying up to 2 o'clock in the morning, and you can still go work out for 3-4 hours and you're losing 18 pounds a day. I'm going with you tomorrow. I'm going with you. And I was like, okay, well, you can come, but I don't think you're going to make it through it, though. But after about 2 or 3 days of that, my body started getting tired. You know, it started going through all the symptoms that are related to diabetes. Dry mouth, going to the bathroom every 5 minutes, drinking everything I can get my hands on. And the mistake that I made that I know now, that I didn't know then, is that sweet tea that I was looking for in Alabama and the Gatorade wasn't doing nothing but making my blood sugars worse. I'm grabbing Gatorade because I feel like, all right, I'm dehydrated, but it's running my blood sugar up. I'm drinking everything in the house. 2.5 weeks later, I lost 45 pounds in a total. Getting ready for training camp, load the truck up, and you get used to it. And some of you, I hope you are not dealing with it now, because I know I did. You go through a period where your body adjusts. It gets used to the high blood sugar, and it feels like a normal to you. So you feel like, okay, I'm okay. I don't feel that great, but it's been 2 or 3 weeks and you feel the same. So you're like, well, I can just deal with this, and maybe some days are better than others. That was how it was with me. I drove 14 hours with my blood sugars over 500 by myself. You know, and ain't no telling what could have happened while I was driving by myself from Alabama up to here. And most of you here, I'm pretty sure all of you at least know of him or might have met him and seen him, the head trainer, John Norwig. I walked in and my hat was over my ears and my pants were about falling off and everything was just bad. And he's like, okay, what are you trying to do? We got a week before training camp start and you look pitiful. And I was like, you know what? I feel pitiful. I feel bad. But I'll be all right. I think I'm just tired because I've overworked myself, so I'm going to take a little while and go home and sleep. He said, well, why don't you go let Dr. Yates see what's going on with you? I did. And I passed out on his table. They had to wake me up. I told him what was going on. He didn't really say anything. He said, well, let me get a little blood from you. Just check it out. He came back within 5 minutes and told me, you got to go to the emergency room. And I was like, what for? He's like, I think you have diabetes. And I said, you know, I've heard that word before, don't have a clue what it is. And if he would have said, I think you have sugar, like we say in the South, I might have had an idea what he was talking about. But I was like, I can't go to the hospital. I still got luggage in the car, and I'm not really ready. Let me go home and get unloaded. He said, no, you're going now. He didn't tell me what my numbers were. And by the time I got there, my vision was gone. I had doctors and nurses in and out of my room, and my blood sugar was right at 1,000, if not a little bit over. And you talk about being scared. Me being in the hospital wasn't a big deal. I've had surgeries before in college and had a couple that off season before, so it wasn't no big deal me being in the hospital, but the fact that I couldn't see anybody, that's what freaked me out. I'm 23 years old, laying up in the hospital, and I can't see. And some of you might have been at that point, been close, or know somebody has. It's really unexplainable the way you feel at that point in time. You feel absolutely helpless. And so what I was talking about, when God started working on you, my chest kind of got deflated real quick. And you start trying to figure out what's going on and what's the problem. I've been doing everything fine. 2 weeks ago, I was 45 pounds heavier, felt like I was strong as an ox, and didn't have any issues. And now I'm laying up in a hospital bed and I can't see, and I'm in downtown Pittsburgh. And all I could think about is, am I going to be able to play football again? It's something I love to do. I've been blessed with this, so what's going on? That year was one of the longest years of my life. I probably shouldn't have even played, and I had a hard time dealing with it because now social media is 1,000 times worse than what it was, almost 11 years ago. And the media was tearing me up. Most of them didn't know much about diabetes at all. And this guy has lost it. He was a first-round pick. What's going on with him? We don't know if he'll ever bounce back. You try not to look at that stuff and pay attention to it, but it finds a way in, and you start reading into it and paying attention, and you push yourself a little too much to try to prove a point. The one thing that I remember, and he was my endocrinologist the whole time I was here, Dr. Rao. He's in Falk Clinic down in Pittsburgh. The one thing he said to me, he said, you need to come see me when you get out of here. And if you want to be able to perform and do your job, you have to find a way or another to keep your blood sugars below 180. He said, if not, it's like you out there with one arm tied behind your back and you can't do your job. And I feel like it's the same with you guys. And even now, my diabetes is in pretty good control, in real good control from what I see. And even when I start getting high, I can tell a difference in my attitude, the way I'm moving around, and everything. So I went back to being hard-headed again, got out the hospital, didn't listen. Dr. Yates was helping me out. I didn't go see Dr. Rao, and I struggled that entire year to barely even be 300 pounds and was kind of getting pushed all over the place, in and out of the lineup. And mentally, that wore me out more than the diabetes did. I recovered, had the best off season of the time I was here in Pittsburgh, came in, had the best training camp that third year, and a week and a half into training camp, I blow my ACL out. So at that point, I'm figuring, well, why is he picking on me now? I'm asking God, what did I do? I'm kind of having some hard luck right now, and I really don't like what's going on. I don't want diabetes, and I really don't want to have a torn ACL. I've done as much as I possibly can to try to come back from this, and I'm in better shape than I ever have been in college. But the silver lining in that is my oldest daughter was born 2 days after I tore my ACL. So it took me a while to look at it that way. We went 15-1, and that was one of the hardest things for me to watch, is to watch the team succeed without me being out there. And some of you probably have heard me say this before. I'm not going to lie to you. That small part of me wanted to be out there, and you kind of wish that, something happened so you can have an opportunity. You don't want to see them win without you. And that's just the human side of us all. You've been a part of it for so long, and you want to be a part of it, but you feel like you are on the outside looking in. And even though the guys were very supportive, and they say, hang out, come around, you still don't feel a part of it. You feel like you're kind of a fan, really. That next year, came in, started every game, and we won Super Bowl 40. Now that was perfect. Diabetes is under control. Everything is going good. But the best part about it is I'm in an organization who knows a lot about diabetes, and they care about the athletes. And Mr. Rooney, y'all know him. I hadn't seen him in a while, but old man Rooney, he's like my mama, about this tall. Hadn't seen him in a long time. Love him to death because he took care of me. He really did. And that's another blessing that I had to understand that God's like, I got a plan for you. I'm going to take care of you. Just calm down and give me a chance. Mr. Rooney got 2 kids that have diabetes, so he knows about it. It's in his family. And so I was put in a fortunate situation. If I was on any other team, I guarantee you my career would have been shorter than what it was. A lot of teams and even jobs nowadays, you guys know this, that if you don't control your diabetes, or even if they know you have it, there's a red flag on you already. And most of the time, you try to hide it. I know the times while I played, my playing days were an emotional and physical roller coaster. During games, I can't say that I've had one game where I felt absolutely perfect, where I feel quick as a cat. It was like this, high or low, high or low. And it drained me mentally. And you need to have a lot of mental focus to play professional football, especially when they count on the offensive line to do their job, because you're trying to protect the people who are throwing the ball and running the ball. And if you are off at all, it could cause somebody to get hurt, or be some point in the game where it could cause you to lose a game. So mentally, I tell people diabetes taught me more mental toughness than anything I've ever endured in my entire life. Because on the field at times, it's been many a times where my blood sugars were around 30 to 40, and I'm shaking like a leaf. And I know that there's nothing I can do about it till I get to the sideline. So I had to talk to myself during the whole time in my stance, hearing the play. You can do this. Come on, you got it. And you look at the other guy and motivate yourself, because he's bent over like this. And you can see him, he's trying to find air. And I'm like, you know what? He does not have a clue how I feel right now. He's tired. He's looking for air. But I can barely stand up. And I'm shaking bad. And the right tackle next to me, it was Max Starks at one point, and then Willie Colon. They understood. I talked to them a lot about it. And they could look at me and tell. And the guy would just look down at my hand. And my hand would just be shaking like this. And we've only ran like 3 plays. And I'm already shaking. He's like, man, you going to be all right? I'll make it. I'm good. And hopefully if we get a timeout, I'll get him to give me some glucose tabs or some gel or something real quick. Like I said, it pushed me. I learned a lot about myself. And I tell everybody, young or old, use the opportunities that God presents to you, even with diabetes, to learn something about yourself. It shows you how far you can push yourself, what you can endure, and how much you care about yourself, really. I tell people, if you really want to be successful in life, especially living with diabetes, you have to love yourself, and that's with anything. You're going to do it. And I felt like I had a responsibility, not just for myself, but for my family and that team. They're putting a lot of effort into going to my doctor's appointments with me, which a lot of people don't get that type of support. I had amazing support, so I didn't have any excuse to fail. Ryan Grove and John Norwig and even Arico, when she was here, they were going to my endocrinologist appointments because they needed to know what was going on with me. They had my medicine at work, my glucose tabs and gels, my meters. I didn't have any excuse. So if I failed at that, that was only my fault. And you got, at that point, my daughters, I had my one daughter at the time was getting older, and my wife was looking at me for support, but I had to be an example because our eating habits were terrible. And I can tell you now, maybe just a shade over 280. I've lost a lot of weight since I played. I probably played around 310, between 310 and 320. But I would easily be 340, 350 right now if it wasn't for diabetes. Easily, no question, because of my love for food. I absolutely love food. I ain't gonna lie to you. I love it. And my favorite thing is chocolate. King size Snickers is my kryptonite. I'm telling you, if anybody, excuse my language if this bothers anybody, I was pissed when they changed the king size Snicker. I liked it. I liked how it was just big. I don't like that too where they split it in the middle. What's the point of that? I'm always buy 2 small Snickers if you're gonna do that. I wanted the whole thing. I like to eat the bottom first and then the top. I'm just telling you, I told you this is my personal vent session. I like food. I want y'all to feel comfortable because the life of living with diabetes, you have to be comfortable. There's no point in hiding anything. You know, but you have to be sensible with what you do. I try to work out and exercise 4 or 5 days a week. If I can, traveling interrupts that sometimes. And I have to worry about what I eat when I travel, just because I know how being in the airport and hotels can affect my blood sugar. On an everyday basis, when you're at home, you have stuff that you like. I know everybody in here has that one go-to sweet. Everybody. If you can't say that you do, you are lying to yourself. Everybody has that one go-to sweet, whether they really like sweets or not, that, okay, you know what? If I'm going to have sweets, this is what I want. All right, if you're going to do that, you got to make sure 3/4 of your day was a good one. You can't have 3/4 of your day bad, then throw the sweet on top of it, and then you look at your blood sugars later and like, what's the problem? You got to look in the mirror on that one. That's something I had to learn how to do. I had to learn it's a lot of foods that I loved beforehand. Cereal. I'm a cereal junkie. I love breakfast food. I can eat cereal breakfast, lunch, and dinner and switch them up because I got about 5 boxes of cereal in my pantry right now that I can't eat and my daughters eat, and I get mad when I look at them eating, when I call it my cereal. But it spikes my blood sugar. No matter whether I bolus up 15, 20 minutes before, it doesn't agree with me. You have to do that also. Learn what you got to give up. There's certain things you can give up to gain something else. There's a lot of little things out there, 100-calorie snacks that are great for you, that you can still get your sweet tooth and feel fulfilled and it not get put any calories and any extra weight on you, and you okay. It's just a lot of trial and error. And the help that I got from John Norwig and a lot of those people helped me out with that trial and error, because there were so many times during games that certain supplements I've taken added to the effect of me feeling bad as far as my diabetes goes. And they helped me with eliminating a lot of those. The support that you're getting for those guys in the back and everybody here, squeeze them for every amount of information that they got. Make it to the point where they was like, God, here she come again. I just answered 45 minutes of her question, and what else does she need to know now? Do it. That's the whole point of it. I don't know that much. I know a little bit, and I feel like the more I do this, the more I learn. And you can never know too much about your own body and your own health. That's, to me, goes back to loving yourself and wanting to do better. If you're younger and you got kids, one of the best things that happened for me that helped me change was knowing I had to be accountable for them. My habits filtered down. I got 3 daughters and a 2-month-old little boy. Finally got some testosterone in my house. Pink and green was killing me. But you know what, though? I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. I love my girls, and my wife knows that they listen to me and they don't listen to her. So she don't let me touch my little boy very much when I'm at home. And so I said, well, you being selfish right now with him. You're going to be wanting me about 2 a.m. in the morning when he crying and need his diaper change. I was like, no, that's your baby. That don't work. I'm just playing. Y'all know that, right? But it filters down. Our habits, what we do. It's just like in my family in Mississippi, and they're still there. What they instilled in me, it followed me, and a lot of them are still there. So I stay on my daughters a lot about what they eat, especially my oldest. She is attached to my hip. Because for a year, I had my knee in a machine during the ACL surgery and fixing my leg. And so I held her while my knee was in the machine doing rehab. And so we are extremely close. She is exactly like me, but looked exactly like her mama. And so mama always sends to me when she can't handle her. And I understand. So in the middle, when I do the same to her, she look like me and act like her mama. Come get her, because I can't deal with this one. And I know a lot of y'all are like that. But when it comes to food, they eat like I do. I call myself a grazer. I'm like a cow that walks around all day long and kind of slowly eat here and there. And when I was playing, it was fine because I could burn all those calories off. It wasn't a big deal. It didn't affect my blood sugar as much. But on the average, and I think it's even more now, offensive linemen, when I played, and maybe even to this day probably more, we ate on the average of 5,500 to 6,500 calories a day. Could you imagine eating that much food and burning it off, and 3 hours later you're hungry? So think about being that way and having diabetes. I would run through a flex pen so quick. And on the average during a game day for me, managing my diabetes was one of the things I had to learn how to do and make it a priority in my life. I would check my blood sugar at least 10 or 15 times and take at least 8 to 10 shots a game. And that's tweaking my blood sugars, trying to figure out where can I be to feel the best and play the best. And if I could stay anywhere near 120, 130, maybe just a tad bit higher, I felt good. But I didn't realize adrenaline affects your blood sugars. So when I got Ray Lewis yelling at me and Haloti Nod in front of me, who's wider than that aisle right there, you know, you have to be a little crazy in the head and get yourself going, and that doesn't do nothing but spike your blood sugar on top of whatever else you got in your system. So that was hard for me, and I didn't figure that out until I started doing this job. So I try to let a lot of people know, any athletes, that if you have an issue, you wonder why you're high, that has a lot to do with it. You know, it's just the adrenaline pumping, and maybe your endocrinologist or whoever may be will help you find a solution for that. But the main reason why I'm up here, y'all, is just to be an example. Say, enjoy your life, accept it for what it is. It's not that hard unless you make it hard. I got one of the statistics I just saw that was amazing to me, and I just looked this up for the state of Pennsylvania. By 2013, 56.7% of the people will have some type of health issue related to diabetes or whatever it may be. It's going to jump up that much, and there's only 13 other states that are over 60%. And 9% of that is going to be related to diabetes, and it's going to raise, health care and all that kind of stuff. Whatever we can do and you guys can do to help your kids out and future generations, because I know I don't want my children to have to deal with what I'm living with. I tell everybody that. I would not wish diabetes on anybody, because once a month I absolutely hate it. Can't stand it, don't want it. Please take it back. I'm tired of changing my sights on my pump. I'm tired of trying to play golf or go working out, and then my sight come out, and it absolutely ruins my golf game, even though it ain't like my golf game that good in the first place. But I might well stop playing because my blood sugar goes high, and it's just a lot of little inconveniences with it. But you could complain about the inconveniences or look at them as, it's a way of me learning something about myself, and I'm gonna be okay. And the people around you, I lean on my wife a lot, and I lean on the people that I work with a lot about what's going on and my likes and dislikes and what I need to learn and what's going on. Take advantage of that. Y'all here for a reason. Milk these people, like I said, for everything you can get. And when I left here, I had one of the best experiences, and I was blessed to be here because I had people that supported me big time. And I like coming back and trying to give back to a place that gave me a lot. So I'm gonna give you guys the opportunity to ask me whatever you want. Don't be shy. No matter what it is, we can talk about food. I watch Food Network all the time. So we can talk about drivers, dine-ins, and dives, and all that stuff, whatever it may be. So anybody, please. Yes, ma'am.
I have a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
I take sugarless gum when I want to eat snacks, and it works.
Okay, cool.
Every time you want to take that cookie or whatever, you take the sugarless gum.
All right, I'll tell you what, I've found something that's worked good for me. I like those Nutri-Valley granola bars. I go and buy that variety box, and I bring a few of them with me, and that doesn't really do anything to my blood sugar, and I feel like it's putting something on my stomach. That chewing gum ain't gonna do nothing but make me mad. I'm chewing and ain't nothing going in here. What's the point of that? Huh? Hey, I tell you what, that's a good point, but I'm still gonna be angry on top of it though. So I can't do that. That's a good one though.
Drink water and chew gum.
There you go. That's a good one. I might try that. Yes, ma'am.
Measure your, like a third cup of this and have a cup of that, and eyeball it.
You know what? Beforehand, she was asking about measuring my food. And beforehand, I measured everything out. I had a little scale, had like 50 measuring cups from every size possible, But now I've gotten to the point where I can look at it and tell what I'm eating and how much is in it. And that's kind of what I do now. I don't suggest everybody do that, but I ain't gonna say I'm a pro, but after a little while, you learn what you can eat and what you can't. And I kind of stay within this, some people range of what they eat. Mine is kind of more broad, this big. There's certain things in that scale where I know that I eat consistently that I don't have to really worry about. And I'm a whiz when it comes to eating out. Most of these fast food restaurants, I can tell you the carbs and just about everything on their menu. Because I got one of them books from a diabetes educator when I first got it, and I learned everything in there. Because I hadn't given up fast food yet, and now I don't really eat it as much, but I still know a lot about it, though. Yes, ma'am.
I learned to make portions of food,
Mm-hmm.
with diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do with that is take a cup and put portions of rice and portion of meat,
Mm-hmm.
or get a divider plate.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to do that.
Yeah, that's big. That's big. One of the things that Nova Nordisk has done a good job of, and I'm pretty sure some of the other companies might have something similar to this, is one of those portion plates. That helps, because if you have issue with the willpower to portion things out, make that your main dinner plate. You don't have much of a choice then. Now, if you go over the lines and little dividers in that, then something wrong. That will help to keep you in a boundary, and that helps. I've seen that help a lot of people out, because you can't overfill your plate unless especially if you just got a big plate. So that's a good one to use. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering with two questions, how long you've been using the pump, and if it made a big difference in the way your disease is controlled?
I've been on the pump for a little over 3 years now. I did manual shots while I was here. The pump has been one of the many blessings for me. For one, my wife loves it because I'm not taking off her purse anymore with my flex pens and needles. I've saved a lot of money by not letting needles and flex pen get ruined in my car, because you try to keep one and you forget it's going to be a hot day. Insulin breaks down, and I've taken a lot of shots from an extra pen in my truck and wonder why my blood sugar's at 400, and I just took a shot 45 minutes ago. Having a pump on was weird because I really don't like stuff being attached to me. But now I've gotten so used to it, I wouldn't go back for nothing. As many people as I can, if you can get one, I would suggest it, because my numbers went from being like this to like this. I mean, it is perfect. And if I mess up, it's on me. It's not because of my insulin is wore off and I just hadn't taken the shot fast enough to cover this or that. It's constantly giving me insulin all the time. So it helps keeps me leveled out. So it's one of the best things I ever did for myself. And I'm happy about that. So I would suggest anybody, if they can do it, then at least give it a try. You'll see a dramatic difference. So, yes, sir.
Your family, brothers, sisters, parents, do they have experienced diabetes?
I have an older aunt that has it now. My brother was this close. He's 5'9", maybe 215 at the most, and he had blew up to like 270, 275 at one point. And the doctor told him, you probably got another couple pounds and you're gonna have type 2. And that went from him working jobs and running around and on his feet all the time to working at Sprint, and his wife loved to cook. So he sat there and he was eating a lot, not doing anything. And I just told him, I was like, you don't want to be in my position, man. You really don't, especially when you can do something about it. Just don't put yourself through that. My parents are fine, other than high blood pressure, which I inherited that from them. And that's it. I'm the only type 1 in my entire family, the only one. And I make sure I talk to them about it, because my main thing is that's something we didn't do. If we'd have talked about diabetes and not accepted it and just kind of swept it under the rug, I would have knew that my grandmother was a diabetic. I did not know until I had talked to my mama the night I was in Falk Clinic with the phone to my ear, still can't see, upset, talking to her. And she said, baby, you didn't know your grandmother was a diabetic? I said, no, didn't have a clue. I thought she was old and taking medicine. And, not blaming her for it, but that's just something in families. We have stuff that we take and sweep under the rug and we don't talk about. That's fine, but when you got younger kids, you want to make them aware of it, especially if it's a disease that can be maybe passed on or something that's, in your family, especially for generations. So, yes, ma'am.
What cereals did you find that worked for you? You said you love cereal.
That I can eat now? Special K, the one that's got the almonds and something else in it. That's like my favorite one, but I don't, that don't really get me excited. You give me some some Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Crisp. Anything that's got colors in it. To me, that's like eating cake. I mean, I would rather have a good bowl of cereal with just a little bit of milk just to wet the cereal just enough so I can still get that crunch. That's what's gonna make me happy. And 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be happy for the first bit while I'm eating, and then I'm gonna be upset later because my blood sugar's high. So I've just had to learn how to just let it all go. So, yes, ma'am. I'm gonna come right back to you. Yes, ma'am.
You know, when shredded wheat, without sugar,
Yeah, but it ain't got no sugar on it. But that's not real sugar, though.
it's very sweet, but there's, it's very sweet, but it's not sugar.
I understand, but it's still not sugar, though. I get you. I understand. No, that's good. I've tried that before, and it worked for a little while, and that's something where, okay, I got to find another alternative because this is driving me crazy. But I understand where you're coming from with that. That's a good option. Yes, ma'am.
A lot of times, like, people get type 2 and they're not heavy and overweight, they're just normal weight, and then you have somebody in your family who really is overweight, and they don't get it, and did you ever have to, a lot of times people think it's your own fault if you get it, and it really isn't, but did you ever have to deal with, like, that feelings of guilt or anger that you got it and somebody else didn't get it, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Deal with those feelings of anger and
Mm-hmm.
resentment?
No,
Deal with that.
no question. And not calling him out at all. Casey Ham's is a big guy, very big guy. Max Starks is huge. From what I know of right now, those guys don't have any issue with diabetes. And you look at why me? You know, what did I do to get this, and why is it on my plate? And why do I have to deal with this? Diabetes does not know any shape, size, or color. No matter what it is, you see people all the time that are absolutely healthy, they get it. I felt like I was. And every now and then, you know, I still have issues with dealing with it, but it's part of it, you know. I've just learned to learn how to deal with it. And you talk to people. Get it out your system. Don't sit there and let it fester like anything else, because then it starts affecting your health and the way you manage it yourself. Okay, well, I'm tired of having to take a shot every time I want to eat some good food, and they don't have to do anything. Or I got 50,000 people questioning me about what I'm eating, and they know I'm a diabetic, and they're looking at me walking around with a piece of cake. And I've told people before, what you looking at? I have. I can eat what I want. You have the whole, everything wrong about diabetes. The people who say, why are you eating that? You ain't supposed to eat that. You're not in my family. You don't go to my doctor's appointment. Don't tell me what to do. You don't know me. And anybody in here, you have the right to do that. And if they say something to you, find me. I guarantee you they'll leave you alone. I guarantee you that. That's just the wrong misconception about diabetes, that people feel, okay, if you're diabetic, you can't touch sweets at all. You ain't supposed to eat bread. You're supposed to eat like a rabbit for the rest of your life. That ain't how it works. You eat in moderation and do the right things, and you can enjoy life like everybody else. And it took me a long time to figure that out, that I can still do certain things. I got to find substitutes for the stuff that I really love that I know affects me. But it's a process. And just search. The internet nowadays, you can find anything you want. Everybody got smartphones at work. Get on the internet. Just look it up, you know, and you'll find out a lot of things. So, anybody
Kendall,
else?
I hate to cut it short, but
Why,
our
come
next
on, man, I'm
speaker.
enjoying myself.
I'd keep you here all day, man. I don't want to get you mad at me.
Can I get one more
I mean, I
question?
tried to take your rings last year and you chased me.
Not happening. Can I get one more question? I know somebody
Sure,
want
one more.
question. Somebody give me a good one. Yes, ma'am.
How long before your vision came back?
By the end of that week. By the end of the week, I got in there Monday morning. Probably about Thursday afternoon, it started coming back. And it was still blurred for about a couple of days after that. It's just I've had almost 14 surgeries in an 8-year career in the NFL, and that was one of the scariest things I ever dealt with, was losing my sight for that time. Other than that, everything else didn't bother me. That was scary. So that was a good one. Y'all, take care of yourself. Squeeze them. If they complain about giving you information, like I said, come find me, because you need it. And just, it's some accountability there. You love yourself, you'll do it. You got kids, change their future. Do something for them, whether you really enjoy doing it or not. It's going to affect them later on down the road. And enjoy your life. Find substitutes, research stuff. It's not that hard. And y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wonderful.